Hello and welcome to the Financial Wellness Hour. I am your host, Hirsch, Serman, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today with me on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This show is created for those wanting to learn more about financial wellness, and we will be taking different life cycles and we're going to explore them financially and emotionally, because personal finances are usually not about the money. Believe that or not, it's rather about the emotions that are associated with your finances. Our goal is to look at how to prepare for different life cycles and how to thrive on the other side. Although we may have a theme for the show, I can promise you that the strategies we talk about are going to be applicable to all different situations that you're going to be facing in your life. Although we may be somewhat general in our discussions, we would love to hear from you to make it more personal and make it more relevant. So you can call in or you can reach me through my website, lifecycle.financial. That's lifecycle.financial. Going solo means different things to different people. It can be a divorce. It could be the death of a loved one. It could be perpetual bachelorhood. And I'm sure there are many other ways that you can look at it. And we're going to cover all of these, just not on today's show. So continue to tune in. And again, we'd love to hear from you for future topics and hear what you'd love to learn more about. I am very, very excited about today's topic. Today, we're going to focus mainly on you, our listeners. We're going to run through a lot of things that I think when I say you can live your life and learn no matter what situation you're going through, this is going to apply. We're navigating such unprecedented times right now. Understanding who you are, how you're adapting to everything going on, how everything is impacting you are just probably a few of the thoughts you've had over the last 6 or 7 months through this pandemic. Living authentically is living substantively. You may have been through a divorce, or you may have lost a loved one. You may, after all this time, not even really be sure who you are anymore. We have so many societal pressures, family pressures. Let's layer that with a global pandemic. Living authentically is a difficult goal for many people. I am ecstatic to have Pam Savino be joining us. She's the founder of Live Authentically and the author of the book SOAR, and whose mission is to help people do just that, to live authentically. I'll tell you, I've shared several stories of my life on the show. I was married for over 20 years, and I had to rediscover who I was again. So this topic is very near and dear to my heart. Pam, welcome. I am thrilled to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You hear the name Live Authentically, and when we kind of met originally, it immediately grabbed my attention. How did you get into coaching? How did you start Live Authentically? What was the drive behind all of this?
Yeah, I have to say, it was during my divorce process that I really started to explore the concept of authenticity. For the first time in years, I felt like I started to live from that authentic place, a place where I was aligned with who I was. I was starting to connect back with the essence of who I was. And that's something that really got lost over the years. And I love that. I love this term going solo, I have to say, by the way, because that is what this journey to authenticity is about. We're each on our own individual journeys, spiritual journeys. And sometimes that gets clouded. Sometimes we have layers piled on, societal expectations, fears, doubts, etc., that really disconnect us from the essence of who we are. So this journey is all about reconnecting, right? Reconnecting with our higher selves and doing life our way, making sure that what we're doing and what we're thinking and what we're saying and what we're believing and, the energy that we're putting out into the world is all aligned. And so it was really during my divorce process that I started to anchor back into my authenticity. And that's the place from which everything that I'm doing today stemmed.
So just a passion that comes behind it. I think sometimes people, do work and they go through their day, and then there are other people that have a motivation, such a life event that really creates a passion behind them. And obviously that's what's happened here. So what barriers stand in the way of living authentically?
I love that question. Thank you for asking that. And I think so many times we don't even realize that we have so much piled on, right? We have, fears is one of them. Fears is something that stands in the way of where we are and our authentic self. So fear of failure, fear of, fear of death, fear of abandonment. There are so many different fears that get in the way and cause us to live in that stifled place. Doubt, doubt is something that stands in the way of authenticity. That self-doubt, that, what if I fail? I don't know that I'm confident enough in myself, kind of all of those doubts, that chatter, that voice inside our head that kind of keeps holding us back. Societal expectations, right? We kind of are handed this script or this kind of blueprint from society. This is the path to happiness, or this is kind of these are the steps to go through life and achieve happiness. You go to college and then you get a job and maybe you get married and have kids and the house, the car, that whole thing. But the reality is that there are many pathways to happiness and there are many pathways to authenticity. So we think that we subconsciously think we need to follow a certain path. Limitations, self-limiting beliefs, right? Those, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, this is just the way my life is. I'll never, be able to step into my passions, my power, so many things, society pressures, external validation, the need for external validation, looking to others, being people pleasers, things like that. Those are all things that keep us disconnected from the essence of who we are.
So many of those are self-imposed. I think that's always important to point out. Yeah. I think sometimes we are our biggest limitation sometimes as well. And, in your book, you write, and we'll come back to your book, but you write that you're not a big fan of these 10 simple steps, because firstly, not every step applies to every person, but I think also you look at it and they're not always so simple because, we are complex people. We have different needs. And so we need to figure it out, as you said, kind of going solo for ourselves, which I think I love that. What you've just said is huge. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, and I think, we can go through life haphazardly and just kind of go through our day, or we can live our life in a pretty deliberate way. How can people design a lifestyle to support living authentically?
So an authentic lifestyle really centers around connection, connecting with our higher selves, spiritual term, but it really just means connecting with ourselves, connecting with the essence of who we are. We can do that a number of different ways. And I encourage when people start to dabble in this space that they start small, right? And not expect that they're going to go from where they are to, authentic living the next day or the next week. I always say Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So we have to take gradual steps to get there. So sitting, carving out time for solitude, right? Just kind of sitting quietly. We live in a distracted society. We're constantly busying ourselves with hobbies and just all kinds of stuff, clutter that kind of gets in the way. And I think sometimes we do that subconsciously to avoid the fears, to avoid the doubt, to avoid that, those vulnerabilities bubbling up to the surface. Right. Carving out time, again, sitting in solitude, doing meditation, journaling, just stream of consciousness journaling, just processing your thoughts. Spending time in nature is a great way to connect with the essence of who you are. Any activity, really, this answer is really broad. Any activity that fits the bill of nourishing your mind, body, or spirit is a step towards connecting to yourself, because your higher self lives at a very high vibration. And I don't want to get super woo here, and this isn't going to be a course on metaphysics or anything here, but everything in our world is vibration, it's energy. And this higher self, this authentic self that I speak about, is a very high vibration. The issue is that a lot of the limitations and the barriers that we spoke of earlier are a low vibration. So those two vibrations can't coexist at the same time. We can either be at a low vibration or a high vibration. It's like a radio frequency. So it's like we can't be at many different frequencies at the same time. So everything that we speak of, again, that higher self, the authentic self, is a high vibration. So really it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that nourishes your mind, body, or spirit. Like I mentioned, meditation, spending time in nature, nourishing your physical self, exercising, eating well, going for a walk, stretching, yoga, taking an Epsom salt bath, going for massages, making sure you carve out time for rest and relaxation, getting sleep, detoxing. I could go on all day. So many ways. And, I think it's important for people to know that there isn't a one size fits all approach. This is very much a process of self-discovery. It's very individual. I always encourage my clients to try different things on. I like to give people a menu. That's the conscious route, right? The unconscious route is here's your 10 steps to happiness.
Right.
The conscious route is here's the menu, right? Here's a menu of all of the different options from which you get to choose, right? And that's what this whole spiritual journey is about. It's about making the unconscious conscious. And it's a process, and it's a fascinating process of self-discovery.
I think awareness, the takeaways I think I'm hearing is that awareness of who you are becomes so vitally important. And, there's a phrase, you get what you put out into the world. If you put out positive energy, you're going to attract a positive energy back. And I believe that, when you're stressed and you're putting out this kind of low vibration, to use your terminology, you're not attracting the most positive people. People don't really want to be around you, to be blunt. I think, though, when you're aware of how you're coming across, when you're aware of the energy you're putting out, you're going to attract a very different person. And being able to kind of be deliberate, as we said, and think about it. And, you rattled off probably 20 different things somebody can do for self-care and connecting with themselves. You might think some of those sound great, try them and go, that's not for me. I'm going to try something else, and finding the right ones for you to elevate you, I think, becomes so important. And I'm kind of paraphrasing, I think, a little bit of what you're saying, but I think it becomes very, very important. And that reiterates how personal this journey is for you as well.
You're right. It really is. And I'm so happy you brought up the term awareness, self-awareness, because that really is the first step in this spiritual journey, is becoming aware of how you feel. And I always encourage people, to start, if they don't quite know where to start, just start asking yourself, how do I feel? Because when you're harboring emotions and feelings like fear and doubt and shame and blame and guilt, those are all those lower vibrational energies. I'm pretty sure, we don't feel good. I know that I don't when I'm harboring feelings. I know I don't feel too good. I don't feel good physically, mentally. I feel lethargic. I feel I just basically don't feel my best self, right? I feel, again, those lower vibrational energies are just so cumbersome. But when we start to have that self-awareness, and then we can make conscious decisions about, okay, how can I step into those higher vibrational energies? What can I do to make myself feel better? And all of those ideas that I rattled off earlier, those are all steps in the right direction. So it really is all about awareness. I encourage people to ask themselves, how do I feel? Do check-ins during the day. How do I feel physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally? And then what do I need? Right? As a follow-up to that, what do I need? Maybe I'm really stressed and overwhelmed right now. Maybe I just need to check out and take a walk for 10 minutes. So it's that constant dialogue.
I like that. I remember when I was going through my divorce, I was at a support group, and the leader said at one point, well, where are you carrying that? And I thought, what are you talking about? And he said, you've just spoken about very emotional pieces, of going through your divorce. Where are you physically carrying that? And I think that was the first time I really realized how our minds, emotions, and bodies are really connected. Mm-hmm. I was very stressed. I was talking about something, being vulnerable, and then he said that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am so feeling that in my stomach right now. Yeah. And that became an indicator to me in when I feel something like that in my stomach, okay, what's going on? Think, you can step back and connect in a different way when you're aware of it. So absolutely, I think that resonates very strongly.
Thank you. And it really is a lifestyle. It's a commitment. It's a mindset. It's something that even the most spiritually evolved people, even spiritual teachers, gurus, work at every single day. It's important to point out that we all are subject to the range of human emotions. That's part of our humanity, but it's having the awareness and making the conscious decision to step out of them, right? And to commit to connecting with who we are.
Right. So what is the most, I don't know that you can pick one, but what is the most powerful thing people can start doing to begin their journey to live authentically right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there are so many things. I mean, it really is a multifaceted endeavor, but I would have to say, start paying attention to your feelings. Ask yourself, how am I feeling? Because I think one of the best kept secrets is that we create our realities based on our emotions, right? Certain emotions such as peace and love and joy, those are all very, very high vibrational emotions. Though that's the point of attraction that you want to anchor on. That's the point of attraction from which you want to emit your energies into the world. So start paying attention to your feelings. Start journaling. How am I feeling? And then connect that to what you're attracting in your reality, because this is all based on, the foundational law of the universe, the law of attraction. Like attracts like. So the reality is that we attract based on our emotions. We attract based on how we're feeling. So connecting to how we're feeling is, I think, the most powerful place that someone can start this journey.
That's great. And, I'm thinking as you're saying that, how often would I say to my kid when I see them, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
It's so natural for me to look at my kid and see it. But how often do people do that with themselves?
Right.
And it's no different. I mean, we feel things, as you're saying, we have this entire range and spectrum of emotions. Why wouldn't we do the same for ourselves? I think it makes so much sense, yet it's almost counterintuitive when people are thinking or the way that people live their lives. So just being able to have that check-in with yourself becomes enormous, I think, and that awareness, as we said.
Yeah, it's immensely powerful. And I think too, I mean, adult life is complicated, right? I mean, we've got houses, we've got families, we've got businesses, whatever. And, life gets complicated fast. So I think that sometimes we're conditioned to think that we just need to keep piling on more and keep plowing through and we're the leaders. And, it's like, no, it's okay. We can take a step back and validate how we're feeling. We can check in with ourselves and say, you know what? I'm feeling stressed. I do that from time to time. I have this humanity element about me as well. Like I'll say to my business manager every once in a while, like, hey, I'm feeling a little bit of stress here. Can we work this through? And he absolutely speaks to kind of the emotional component, because again, we're just so conditioned to just keep piling on more and plowing through. But that model doesn't work. Or for too long, I have to say that model has an expiration date. So I think it's important that we nurture our whole selves, our mind, body, and spirit.
I love that. I love that. I'm sure people come to you from all walks of life and due to all kinds of challenges. What do you hope to accomplish, or what do you hope they will accomplish, I guess, when they're working with you?
So yeah, I work with lots of different demographics, but my wish for everyone is that they live a life that feels true, or that is true to who they are. So I think so many times we live a life that looks good from the outside, but doesn't necessarily feel good on the inside. And that looks very different. I work with people to help find careers or to help find happiness in their personal lives, in their relationships, more harmony in their lives. And it's a fascinating process. So, I mean, again, it's just living a life where we feel like what we're doing, what we're saying, what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're believing, the life we live on the outside, what we're feeling in our hearts on the inside, that's all in alignment. That's a fancy schmancy spiritual term that I use a lot, but it just means that we're connected with who we are. And it's a feeling. Sometimes it's hard to put into words because, again, when we talk about vibrations, the spirit is very high vibration. Words are, as much as I love words as an author, words are a lower vibration. Energy is the currency of the universe. Right. So again, we know it's that deep-seated, we all have had gut feelings about things before. We've all had our intuition try to speak to us. It's just that sometimes we don't know how to silence our mind enough to truly listen and to truly step into that and lean into that, because our soul never leads us astray. Our soul always leads us to our truth. And when we adopt a lifestyle and really, a lifestyle that connects to the essence of who we are, nurturing our mind, body, and our spirit, then we start to live life from the soul. And regardless of the person's profile, regardless of what, of their particular situation, that is my ultimate goal, is to help people live life through the soul.
So, I've dealt with a lot of clients and they'll say to me things like, everyone thought we had the perfect life, or, you know, they put it out on social media, only obviously the positive, the smiles, the, you know, great meals, great vacations, whatever it is. But behind the scenes, things are so different, and they often come out sideways and not in a good way sometimes. And I think what you're saying is you know, that's the kind of thing that becomes so destructive. You're not connecting, you're not there. And we look at society and we look at people and we go, oh, that person, they beat to their own drum. And I think, you know, people look at it and they say a comment like that because that person is courageous enough to live their life the way they want to live their life. And society, as we said earlier, has this kind of form that, you know, or the box that you got to fit into. And I think encouraging people to beat to their own drum, live from within, and connect to their spiritual being, and then be able to live that life becomes such a powerful way to live your life. And quite honestly, for many people, probably enviably way to live your life. So
absolutely. And that scenario that you talked about, you know, kind of life looking good from the outside, and the social media posts and the color coordinated outfits and that whole thing. And, you know, that used to be me. I mean, not that I was trying to fake a certain reality. It's just that, you know, from the outside, I looked like I had it all. You know, I was able to stay home with my kids, you know, the 2 girls, 2 boys, perfectly symmetrical family, you know, husband in a high powered financial career, etc. But on the outside, it looked, again, like a picture perfect life. On the inside, it was very, very different. On the inside, it felt very hollow, I have to say. So as a result of my divorce, I launched myself into this authentic reality. And since I took that leap of faith and stepped into that authentic reality, it's literally been fireworks. And I'm not bringing this up to sound boastful. I firmly believe this is something anyone can do in their life. It's just that we have to take that leap of faith, right? We have to trust. We have to be willing to step outside of what feels comfortable and familiar to us.
Right.
And trust that if we partner with the universe, if we start to navigate this world a little differently than what we've done in the past, actually quite differently than we've done in the past, what opens up to us is just absolutely amazing. It's literally mind-blowing. It's like magic. Every day feels like magic.
I think the question people need to eliminate from their verbiage or vernacular is, what will others think? And that is such a destructive question. We do need to go to a break. Pam, can you tell quickly how people can get in touch with you? And then we got to pay some bills.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is liveauthentically.today. I also have a private Facebook group, liveauthentically.today/FB, or you can email me, and I'm at Pamela@liveauthenticallytoday.com.
Great. We will be back in just a few moments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back. We are on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. My guest today is Pam Savino, the founder of Live Authentically and the author of an amazing book, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, called SOAR, A Spiritual Journey Through Divorce Transformation and Self-Actualization. And we've been talking about connecting with yourself, understanding who you are, being aware of who you are. And then ultimately the goal is to live an authentic life that brings a lot of substance, joy, and harmony to your life. And then through that, I think, to others. I think very often, you know, they say you can't change others, you can change yourself. But I do believe that the way we change ourselves and the way we act, it has an impact on those around us. So obviously, that is a big goal for us as well. So Pam, working through the pandemic and dealing with people, there's obviously fears that have been created through this, changes. Can you talk a little bit about how this has changed, or if it's changed anything for you and for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing that I've noticed through the pandemic is that it's really caused a lot of these more vulnerabilities, these fears, these doubts that people have been kind of stuffing away and sort of trying to, ignoring over the years. It's caused them to bubble up to the surface. And people have had to face things that they haven't faced before, relationship issues, asking themselves deeper questions like, what is my purpose? It's really brought up a lot of that. I've been having a lot of discussions with clients about that. They're sort of naturally feeling the pull to seek deeper meaning and purpose in their life. So, I feel like it's actually, as much pain, that my heart goes out to all of the people that have been affected by the pandemic in any way, shape, or form. There's so much pain associated with it, but it really is prompting, I see, a huge shift in collective consciousness, this overall level kind of awareness. It's causing people to sort of step into their authentic realities. And, some people weren't ready for it, but it's amazing to see. That's fertile ground when we're talking about, peeling back fears and doubts and insecurities and going to that vulnerable place, that transparent place. That's fertile ground for growth and transformation. And that helps people to make the shift from the ego into the soul. So I'm seeing people, again, face a lot of things that, that they haven't been wanting to face before. But I've witnessed mind-blowing transformations in many of my clients over the last few months. It's really been such an honor and a joy to partner with them.
That's wonderful. I think, we certainly have the time now to contemplate who we want to be and how we want to live our lives. We have significantly more time on our hands in general. And I think also the pandemic, I think, from what I'm hearing, you'd agree, has also removed a lot of the distractions in our life that maybe were a barrier to growth. And so being able to look at this, and again, it's a little bit of a mindset shift, I guess, but how can we take advantage? What is the opportunity that's been given to us through this time? I think becomes also an important thing for us to contemplate as we move forward.
Yeah, definitely. It has been. That is kind of one of the silver linings of this pandemic, is that it really has simplified certain things in our life. Just not being able to move about society and about the world that we, as the way that we had been, we're spending more times in our homes. We're able to do less, but there's a gift in that. And that gift is, again, connection. This is all about connection. This journey to authenticity, connecting with the soul. It's all about connection with others, making more meaningful, having more meaningful interactions with others, and then connecting to who we are and just going back down to the basics. I'm very much a back to the basics person. I don't like to have a lot of gadgetry or sophisticated systems or anything. I'm very much old school, back to the basics. So, we really don't, at the end of the day, we really don't need that much to be happy, right? We need some, financial security to meet the needs of our everyday life. We need good relationships, love, that old adage, that phrase, love is all you need. We don't need that much. Our lives become so just overwhelming, overwhelming with distractions and busyness and stuff. And I remember in the years leading up to my divorce, I was just feeling like it's just too much. I kept thinking to myself, that phrase kept coming back, just too much running around and too much this and that. And, it's just been such a gift to be able to just unplug and just slow down and just enjoy life and live in the moment. That's one of the main ways to connect to the essence of who we are, just living in the moment, right? Just enjoying what we have in front of us today.
Yeah, there's so many catchphrases. I'm not sure exactly what to say, the KISS, keep it simple, stupid, things like that, but the big one I think that resonates for me is that life is simple, people complicate it.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very true. I'll tell you, as a financial coach, I get questions of all kinds, a wide array of needs that people come to me. Usually I'm asked to help them, but I can tell you so often I learn from the work I do, which is great because it's gratifying not just to learn and grow myself, but to help people at the same time. I can imagine you do the same thing. This happens for you. Can you share any situations where you found working with a client really helped you at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. I firmly believe that we're all students and teachers. Just because I'm in the role of a coach or a teacher or a mentor doesn't mean that I'm not learning. I learn from my clients every single day. So I think I learned by my clients by witnessing them step into uncomfortable places, because that encourages me to continue to do that. I do that on, I've worked with a client recently, she's taking a huge leap of faith, and just to be able to sit back and watch her do that just reaffirms, it sort of keeps that energy flowing and kind of encourages me to keep taking that leaps of faith, right? Keep stepping into unknown territories, which I'm doing. I was kind of finding I was sort of in a groove and happy with everything that I've got going on, and new opportunity was presented. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to take that leap of faith. So it's just that constant affirmation and that constant validation that's where the growth happens. That's where the magic happens. When we just take that leap of faith, we don't have to know how it's going to play out. We just have to trust. We just have to show up every day, willing to do the work, willing to be the best version of ourselves we can possibly be, and just step into that place of trust. And when we do, like I said, I use the word magic all the time. It literally feels like magic.
Wow, what a powerful encouragement every day. That's amazing. That's a wonderful way to experience life. So this show is called the Financial Wellness Hour, so I should probably bring in one or two financial topics with our discussion. Being focused on how you live helps you shed a lot of activities and expenses that I'm not even sure this is a term, but social clutter. I have found people can very easily frivolously spend money on things and activities that ultimately really don't bring them any joy. And I'm going to ask you if you have any ideas or thoughts on how living authentically can help you financially.
Absolutely. So I so firmly believe that all value comes from within. And that said, the best investment we can make is the investment in ourselves. We're so accustomed to investing in houses and cars and stuff and accumulating possessions. And, we're so focused on all of that, but we don't think, anytime we think about spending money on ourselves, we think about it in terms of an expense. Like, I don't know that I want to spend money on that. That's not going to necessarily bring me joy in the moment. But the reality is that everything in our world, everything in our life stems from the relationship that we have within ourselves. And once we understand that very powerful concept, we start to make different choices. Our value comes from within. The world around us responds to the way we feel about ourselves. If we're feeling like we have value to add and we're coming from a place of joy and love, and we're coming from a spirit of humanitarianism and benevolence, and anytime we're coming from that aligned place, that authentic place, that place of adding value to the world in some way, shape, or form, and that looks different for everyone, the world will respond accordingly. So I always say, it's a process of reframing. And the spiritual journey is very much a process of reframing and viewing, viewing it as an investment. So again, all value comes from within you. You first have to believe in yourself. It's really about belief, right? It's about stripping away the limiting beliefs and showing up to the world from that place of empowerment, right? From that place of power and wanting to help and benevolence and humanitarianism and all of that. And the world will respond accordingly.
It's so interesting. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about a book that I read, and it's got to be 15 years ago at least. And it talks about kind of happiness. And, it says if you have a 2,000, I'm putting it in today's terms, but the book is very old. And it said, if you have a 2,000 square foot house, you're going to want a 3,000 square foot house. And then you're going to want a 4,000 square foot. It's never enough if all you're looking for is kind of outward, what everybody else has or what you think people are expecting you to have. And it ultimately says who's a happy person is somebody who's happy with what they have internally, what they have in their life, that they can see those gifts and take advantage of those gifts. And that's really what makes them happy. And that's something that really stood with me over the last 15 years. And I think that's a lot of what you're saying right now as well, is you got to look internally to be happy. You can't look at everything outside of you and say, those are the things that are going to make me happy.
Right. And that is so true. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I experienced that on my journey. I was going down that checklist, and that last box on the checklist was, I think what we need to do is build a really big home. I think this is going to be what makes us happy. And let me tell you, it's a really low place when you finally check that last box and you aren't happy. You're like, okay, now what? So I was going down that checklist, I was looking to those egoic barometers. And I'm not saying that with any judgment, but it's just to bring an awareness of the ego versus the soul. I wasn't looking inward for happiness. I was looking outward. I was looking to the physical world. I was looking to materialism. I was looking towards consumerism.
Right.
And that's a pretty low place. Like I said, when you check that last box, you think, okay, well, this isn't working. I'm going to have to try something else. Then when you over, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, finish.
And when you shift over to the soul, I mean, when you start to live life from the soul, that's a well that never runs dry. When you learn to live life again from that aligned place, from the soul, connected, fully connected to the essence of who you are, there are no limitations. I mean, there's no expiration date. There's nothing but limitlessness. I mean, nothing but feeling energized, and it keeps getting better every single day. I mean, the best, I always say the best is yet to come. Life gets sweeter every day when we're living from the soul.
And you talk a little bit about that house actually in your book, and I think it's amazing how you develop that in the book, because you talk about this house that was, every detail was planned out, and it was like the perfect home. It was the forever home. It was and ultimately it meant nothing. And you downsized and all the rest that came with that now brought you all the joy. And it definitely a powerful part of your book for sure. So
thank you.
Enjoyed that. And I just coming to a little bit more about you and your services and what you do and how you help people. I'm going to ask you to highlight a couple things of how you work with people, how it's beneficial to work with you, and ultimately, to be able to connect with yourself and live authentically through some of the work you do with people. So I'm going to ask you to share with that as well.
Yep, absolutely. So I work with individuals, so individual clients. So many different situations. Some are looking for career guidance. Some are looking to have more harmony in their lives. Some are looking for help with relationships. Again, just connection. Some are looking they want to explore more about spirituality. And so I work with them on an individual basis. We can meet, weekly, every 2 weeks. I have a few different programs. I'm also moving now into corporate coaching, which is really exciting. So I'm working I spent almost a decade in corporate America as a retirement benefits consulting actuary. So financial, I do have a financial background. So it is really cool to blend my knowledge of finances in corporate America. And I so, well understand the culture because I lived it. So, working with companies and helping them address real life issues, because I believe that, if you've got a happy person, you have much better chance of having a happy employee. So I am all about treating the whole person, right? Helping to heal the whole person so that they're feeling whole and complete and satisfied and empowered. And then they can bring that to the workplace and they can ultimately be better employees. I also do master classes. So I've got a lot of things going on. A lot of different ways to help people.
That's wonderful. And I just want to give you a shout out because I've just got a text from somebody. I had to check the phone. Okay. And they just said, thank you for this, so much to think about. So that's exactly what we're trying to get people to do is think about their paradigm and how to change it a little bit as well. So I do want to come to your book. I've referenced it a few times. I think it's fantastic. As I said to you earlier, I feel like my kids have read it with me because I would be reading, we'd all be reading on the couches, and I'd be like, guys, listen to this. Guys, you got to hear this. And I'd read 2/3 of a page or whatever. So I think the messages are so relevant, so timely, especially with the lives that we have to live in, the drastic immediate changes that had to come and no preparation around it. But one of the things I love is that you get very vulnerable. You get pretty raw in sharing some of your experiences. And some of them are when you were young. Some of them were pretty recent within the last couple of years and anywhere in between kind of thing. I'd love to hear, they say everyone has a book in them, but very few people put that book down on paper. People, so I'd love to hear a little bit about that inspiration as to who did you write it for? What did you hope the readers would get out of it?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked that question because, as I was writing it, I felt this pull to write from the heart. Because again, no one wants a life coach to come in and say, okay, here's your 10 steps. And, if I'm asking my clients to be vulnerable and to be transparent and to really put themselves out there and to really strip themselves down so they can rebuild and so that they can reconnect to who they are, I need to do that first, right? I can't just talk the talk if I'm not going to walk the walk. So I allow my readers, I invite them and allow them to peer into some of my darkest moments, in my life. In high school, my dad was very close to death after an accident. I lost a baby when I was around 30. And recently my divorce. So I had to go raw. I had to be super raw, super real, super vulnerable, because that's how I connect to people, right? I mean, people want to know what I've been through. They want to know, no one wants to pick a book up off the shelf and, and it's all rainbows and butterflies. Like, that's not life, right? That's not real life. They want to know, I wanted to show them how I went from rock bottom, and I had a few rock bottoms in my life, and how each time I wanted to show them how I went from rock bottom to where I am, how I got myself out of that place. So my goal was to not only tell them, but to show them.
So I will tell you, if people aren't inspired enough to read the book, the fact that a high-powered divorce attorney is the person who writes the foreword of a book on how to connect to yourself spiritually, that alone should draw you to want to read this book and find out more. So before we wrap up, do you have any last thoughts? And again, the easiest way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to get in touch with me, Pamela, at liveauthenticallytoday.com. That's my direct email. You can also check out my website, liveauthentically.today. And my closing thoughts are around, no matter where you are, no matter how stuck you're feeling, no matter where you are in life, I so firmly believe that we all have the power to create a better future for ourselves. It takes a willingness to step into vulnerable territories. It takes transparency. It takes a willingness to see life through different lenses. It takes a willingness to kind of own your stuff, right? To realize that the way that you've been doing things may not be what's in your best interest. But I so firmly believe that each one of us has a purpose. We're here for a specific reason. I believe we're here either to love or to grow. Again, you said earlier, we make life so complicated. I so firmly believe that. And life is really simple if we allow it to be. Not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simple. And when we realize that we're here to love and to grow, and we anchor on those two very powerful concepts, then everything in our world starts to unfold organically.
Well, I can tell you it's easy, especially on the financial side, for people to complicate things even more. As we've just said, life is simple, people complicated. Yeah. I think this was incredibly powerful way to end it, those thoughts. Thank you. And having some clear objectives, as you've just shared, Pam, it definitely can help keep life a little more simple and a little more pleasurable. I'm Hirsch Serman, your host for the Financial Wellness Hour. Please do reach out to me. You can reach me through my website, lifecycle.financial. That's lifecycle.financial. Please reach out with questions, whether it's for me, for Pam, the founder of Live Authentically and the author of the book SOAR. And I look forward to you joining me on my next show. Pam, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you.